weren't really prepared for it, then you'll maybe be like, oh, if I just need to figure out a way to beat Zealots, I'll be able to win. But not a lot of people will disagree with, oh my god, he has 2 Colossus, I'm dead. And if those 2 Colossus weren't there, I would win. And that makes it sort of this power unit, this focus unit in battles, and just in general, the Stalker Colossus ball tends to give folks a good bit of hassle. So we're going to go ahead and look at 3 different games across 3 different matchups. And look at 3 different little properties that can happen to a player who's against the Colossus. So Mormagil is in the bottom left. Mormagil is, of course, an ancient historian and is also a Day 9 daily viewer. And in the top left, we have Cape of Storms. It's going to be a fairly typical Protoss versus Protoss. We're actually just going to let the game go ahead and jump to the ×2 as we progress ahead. And we're just going to talk about the 3 different things I wanted to highlight today. The first one that we're actually going to see in this game, after I turn on the sound and make sure that it's not blasting. That's right, wouldn't be a daily without the sound errors. Because I always listen to music with my replay, so I always tend to mute it. And I always tend to be an idiot as well and not turn it back on. Anyways, so the first big thing, as we just kind of let this game play its course out, the first big thing is, a lot of times it has nothing to do with the Colossus at all. The Colossus is a formality. Let me give an extreme example. Suppose that you're playing Zerg and you haven't made any units. Like none. You only drones and 3 queens. That's it. That's all you have. If he attacks with 12 Zealots, you lose. If he attacks with 12 Stalkers, you lose. If he attacks with 2 Colossus, you lose. In that sense, it's not, and let's say you did that, and 2 Colossus came by and killed you. It would be wrong to go, you know, I'm having a lot of trouble dealing with 2 Colossus. No. There's just a big, deep, underlying flaw, and we're going to talk about that in the first game. That's the first big, deep thing. The second things is how you end up dealing with the Colossus. Do you not deal with it properly, both in a direct and not direct sense? That's going to be the second and third game. I just want to state them now, so that way it's in your brain at the very least. And now both of these players are going to have some bumps in their gameplay. For instance, we see Cape of Storms having a little bit of indecision with a probe over here. Mormagil is kind of chilling with his probe. Mormagil is actually only at 34 actions per minute, but he actually ends up playing pretty decently this game. But I mean, little things like this, like not having the hand speed to move around. We would love if your hand speed was up to snuff, but it's not actually going to be that big of a deal. It's not actually going to be as significant of an effect as I normally gripe upon in these Newbie Tuesdays. Looks like there's a little bit of a traffic jam going on there, a little bit of South Central Los Angeles style going on. Pylon goes down. Early Pylon, very early. We could easily build another round of units before we build that Pylon, but, you know, not a big deal. Warp Gate going down, and meanwhile in the camp of Cape of Storms, he is as well getting a Cybernetics core. Now, I'm actually going to speed this up. Oh, wow, second gas going down. No second gas. Oh, in fact, there's a second gateway. That's kind of an interesting thing. And I'm going to begin doing a little bit of spoiler action in a second. Again, we can see little tiny, teensy, itsy, bitsy, microscopic things that we'd love it if these players improved upon. But are you starting to see that up to this point, these players are pretty much doing the good stuff, right? We see 2 gas pretty quickly. We see a Cybernetics core with Warp Gate pretty quickly. We see 2 gates from both players pretty quickly. I mean, this player did go second gas, then second gate. This player did go second gate and then second gas, but it's the same thing, right? Basic, identical endpoint. They are different, but effectively, they're doing the good look. And what we're going to see is we're going to see Mormagil go ahead and throw down an expansion. And Cape of Storms is going to be doing a good old straight up 2 gateway, very fast robotics facility Colossus push. Now, as we let this expansion go down, for any of you who didn't know, very common push in PvP. It was actually like the first build that people actually did. That they were like, this is a build. Is going to gateway directly for Colossus. Like as fast Colossus as possible. Colossus take a ton of gas. So you make a lot of Zealots and you push once you have 2 Colossus with range and a bunch of stuff. The reason I want to gripe on this one is that this is like the first good push. It's just good. It's just solid. I'm actually going to be talking about this for a brief moment in time. It's just a really good push. It's strong. There's nothing BS-y about it. For instance, 6 pool is a very BS-y attack. You're just kind of praying your opponent early expands or something like that, right? Or what's another even better, more standard example? If you sort of just blindly, oh god, I had the example right in my head. Oh yeah, if you just kind of blindly go Dark Templar and kind of just have everything all laid.
Listen to Hello, hello.
In the basket with the Dark Templar, they either work beautifully because your opponent doesn't have detection, or they fail miserably because your opponent does have detection. All these little things. They're good, but they kind of have this flimsiness to them. But like Marauders are just like a good unit. Colossus is with Zealot push, just a good push. Don't want to overthink it. Don't want to go, well, it can be countered with masses of Phoenixes. Look. Yes, in the corner cases where that happens, that's fine, but I just want to illustrate to you, that this is a strong push. Here are the 2 gates going out. He's not macroing out of his 2 gateways yet. He could right now, but he's overall going to have the look, and we're going to see more McGill go ahead and throw down an early expansion. Now, the Colossus push, how did I describe it? I described it not in the context of the Colossus. I described it as just a strong push. It's like Marine Marauder tank pushes at good times. It's like the 4 Warp Gate push. It happens at just a good time, right? It's like when you are building tons of drones in Zerg vs. Protoss and you just suddenly get like 14 roaches with speed. It's just a good time to push out. It's just strong. It's just scary. So what we're going to see is Moore McGill does the classic mistake when he expands. Classic little mistake. He rushes for an observer, right? He rushes for it. He goes for it as fast as he can. Now, yes, StarCraft 2 is all about timing, and there are cases where this isn't bad, but I'm still going to state this to you pretty bluntly. Why the hell are you trying to get an observer really, really fast, spending all this money to try to find out what he's doing, when you really need to be spending your money on staying alive? And this is the sort of thing that creeps into so many players' playstyles. This. For Protoss, it's an observer. For Terran, it's a scan. For Zerg, it's spending excessive amounts of money on overseers and all that good stuff to try to get into his base. It is the idea of, I just want to know what he's doing so I feel safe. You shouldn't have to see what he's doing to know what he's capable of doing, right? For instance, if I go 4 Warp Gate after I've expanded and I make a cannon, I don't give a shit what he's doing. If he's going Dark Templar, I got the cannon. If he's going Colossus push, I have 4 Warp Gates worth of units. If he's going 4 Warp Gate, I get my 4 Warp Gate barely in time, and I have a cannon, right? Whoa! Suddenly we're thinking this might be stable. And what we're going to actually see happen is that Moore McGill's actually going to play pretty damn well. He's going to play quite well. Yeah, he's even getting the Immortal up. And for a player who did get the Observer, which I still don't quite like too much, for a player who still got the Observer, very smart of him to get this Immortal. I still am re-emphasizing that I think that this Observer is a little bit of a mistake. But after he did it, he went for an Immortal. Too often people just go for the Observer blind, and that's really shitty. But if you make that robotics facility and you're actually making use of it, that's quite good. So for instance, this Observer has already done absolutely nothing that a probe could not have done. Alright, hey, we got here. Everything here could have been seen by a probe. And now people at this point will say something to me like, well, this guy placed all his units here. What if I got to the front of his base and he has like all these units and he kills it off, and all I see is like 5 Zealots and a Sentry and a Stalker? Great. Now you always hear me say, scout the front. What does it mean? Hey, I went and attacked a Protoss player and all he had were Zealots. That's weird. Not even a lot of sentries to go along with it. not even really any Stalkers. He's either going Colossus or Dark Templar. Period. Period. Or maybe he's me and he's going for really fast Zealot with leg speed. But again, he's gonna be... You can make conclusions, right? He's not going Blink Stalker. He's probably not doing a big 4 Warp Gate push, he said, almost destroying the cup on his desk. Right? Like that it's this sort of thing that, okay, now Cape of Storm spent all this money to see the Colossus. Now what is this Observer going to do? It's going to go, oh my god, there's the attack that's about to come kill me. Uh-oh. Well, shit. I mean, it's the real tragedy of the Observer. Most of the time, it doesn't do anything useful. It just lets you know, yeah, this stuff's actually going to come kill you in a little bit. Yeah, Cape of Storm's continuing to scout around. Now, Cape of Storms does another little mistake, which is, what did I say was a very common way to play? Get some Warp Gates and then go for a Colossus. Very often you will see one player do almost the same look, right? He'll go 2 gates, expand, and then he'll make more Warp Gates and then eventually go for the Colossus. But as we're going to see, Mormagil is quite a ways far behind. Now, if he's trying to just keep up with his opponent in Colossus count, he's not going to be able to keep up with it. Now, I just want you to know here, we see that Mormagil has 3 Zealots and 12 Stalkers. We see that Cape of Storms has 10 Zealots and 4 Stalkers. I'm going to rephrase this as both of them have about 15 Gateway units. They both have about 15 Gateway units. So, if you're trying to have your Gateway, since your Gateway units are already matching his Gateway units in number, and he has 3 Colossus, how the hell else are you going to battle him? Not by getting Colossus slower, but by getting way more Warp Gates, or getting way more Immortals. You need to do something else. You need to sidestep this whole notion that you should be going back to this normal play. And still, I want to reemphasize, damn, that Observer didn't really do much. Now look at them, their food. Almost identical. In fact, Mormagil's a little ways ahead. Now watch the way this battle plays out. There's not really that much that Mormagil could have done differently. The Colossus is just really, really strong. Oh, look, Force Field's going down. Wouldn't have helped in the first place. And the Zealots, even some Zealots are still alive. Right? The Colossus are just working really, 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 really well. And there's the good game. So that is the first thing I did, because it's probably the most important one. Because I know that some of you have just gotten this far and they're like, whatever, and they close it. It's like, he's not going to try to be funny anymore. I'm done with this stream, right? So, that's fine. I want to get this out of the gate now. Here's what's going on.